Welcome back. This is Ritto here with another Terraria Calamity weapon showcase. Today we're going to be looking at a weapon that was added in the 1.4.5 Rust and Dust Calamity update. It's called the Prismatic Breaker, and it is a really awesome weapon. It's got multiple different ways to attack, and it has multiple damage types. So let's take a look at all of the things this weapon can do. The Prismatic Breaker is a weapon that can be obtained after defeating the Devourer of Gods because it requires Cosmilite. And it has two different attacks. The first is the left click. It takes a second to charge and then it shoots a projectile that's a rainbow effect. And it's very much like the Last Prism, but it doesn't require any mana. And this weapon is quite interesting because it's affected by both ranged and melee bonuses. It has a secondary attack, which you can do with the right click, and it shoots a projectile, pretty sweet. And it goes through walls, as you can see. The beam doesn't, it'll get blocked by walls, but this one will shoot right through the ground. And one cool thing that I just noticed is that when you use the different types of attacks, it will actually change how it appears on your back with the Weapons Out mod. Right now it's showing up as a sword because I was using it like a sword, using the right click. But after using it as a beam, the Weapons Out mod shows it as a staff, and so you hold it differently. It's pretty interesting. So let's try it out on a super dummy. And first let's do the left click. It's showing like 43,000, 44, 45. So the right click is showing 30, 32 I saw, 29 right there. So somewhere around 30 with the gear I have. And with true melee, you can see we're doing a lot more damage, like 60 to 70,000. One thing I also want to check is how many times it can pierce. So let's try with 4 target dummies, and we'll use the left click. And you can see it's piercing through all of them. Really cool. But with the right click projectile, it only hits 3 of them. Now I'm curious if we stack a whole bunch of these, if it will pierce through all of them with the left click. So let's try this. Okay, so this left click definitely pierces infinitely, and that's pretty awesome. Now let's go ahead and try this out on some bosses. So let's see what it does to Providence. It's obviously not going to be that crazy powerful against Providence because this is only at the Devourer of Gods level, but it's still doing pretty well. Consistent like 24,000 damage. It's very easy to land hits with this attack. And let's try the other projectile, the right click. And you can see there's a new way that these projectiles shoot in this fight. Kind of cool. Whoa, new particle effects. That's awesome. I really am excited to try the nighttime Providence fight. I know that there's been some changes, so we'll definitely have to take a look at that in a future video. Now let's try this on the Devourer of Gods. It seems to be doing pretty well. It's pretty easy to land these hits. So this really reminds me of the Dark Spark, but just for melee or ranged. Now let's take a look at the tooltip and how to craft this amazing weapon. It shows with all the gear that I have currently equipped, 3,149 melee damage, and it's cool, in this new update it also shows the true melee damage, which is 4,319, and it has 104 critical strike chance, very fast speed, insane knockback, and it says seems to belong to a certain magical girl, radiates with intense cosmic energy. Fire to charge for a powerful rainbow laser, and that's the left click. Right click to instead swing the sword and fire rainbow colored waves. And lastly, the sword is boosted by both melee and ranged damage. Since this acts as a ranged and a melee weapon, I think we can actually combine the elemental quiver and the elemental gauntlet. And you can see the damage is actually a little bit higher now. And let's go ahead and test if it will split the projectiles if we're using the elemental quiver. So it doesn't split the laser, but the elemental quiver does split the projectiles that come from the sword like this, which is pretty sweet. So to craft the Prismatic Breaker, you'll need the Draedon's Forge, the Cosmic Rainbow, the Solstice Claymore, Life Alloy, and Cosmilite Bars. The Cosmic Rainbow is crafted from the Rainbow Gun, Pearlwood, Meld Constructs, Core of Calamity, and Life Alloy. And the Meld Construct is the combination of Meld Blobs, which has a new sprite, and Stardust. And Life Alloy is the combination of Cryonic Bars, Perennial Bars, and Scoria Bars. And the Rainbow Gun is from the hollowed chest in the dungeon. You'll need a hollowed key and to have defeated Plantera in order to obtain it. The other part of this recipe is the Solstice Claymore, and let's take a look at that. It's a beam sword plus Astral Bars and the different fragments, as well as Luminite. And the beam sword can be obtained from armored skeletons. And that is how you craft this really unique weapon, the Prismatic Breaker. Overall, I really like the Prismatic Breaker. I think it's quite interesting that it combines melee and ranged, and it's cool that it has 2 attacks. I've noticed that they've been doing that a lot recently in the Calamity mod. I also like that it gives the ranged and melee class the opportunity to use something similar to the Last Prism. This doesn't seem to be overpowered or anything at the tier of the Devourer of Gods. It seems pretty similar in power to other weapons that can be crafted with Cosmilite. And that's it for the unique and amazing Prismatic Breaker. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. I'm also doing a Rogue class Let's Play series, so if you're interested in that, be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.